Hello and welcome. Tonight, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory vows completion of legacy projects embarked upon about 6 months ago before May the 29th on the first anniversary of the President Bola Tinubu administration. Oyo State government moves to alleviate the impact of high food prices. Governor Makinde announces the immediate suspension of revenue collection on farm produce and slashes cost of clearing farmlands. Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association demands compensation from the Nigeria Air Force for some of its members killed in the 2023 mistaken airstrike in Nasarawa State. And the United States carries out its first airdrop of humanitarian aid for Gaza.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's FX reserves rise further by about $200 million, inches closer to the $34 billion mark. And on sports news tonight, Darwin Núñez scores a dramatic 99th-minute winner to send Liverpool 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League with victory at Nottingham Forest.
Ahead of the first anniversary of the government of President Bola Tinubu on May the 29th this year, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Wike, has vowed to ensure that some of the legacy projects he embarked upon about 6 months ago are completed. Some of the projects he hopes to complete are the accommodation for the Vice President, the Wike Bypass Bridge, and the Kuje Road dualization. Mr. Wike made the commitment after inspecting some of the projects today.
It is barely 3 months to May 29, the delivery date for some of the ongoing projects in the Federal Capital Territory, and the FCT minister is keeping the contractors on their toes.
And the asphalt here, it will be ready before the end of April, only the road marking.
Mr. Wike is making a site tour of some of the legacy projects that he's targeting the completion by the end of May this year.
Frankly speaking, I'm very happy of the quality and the speed which these companies are. By May, a lot of Nigerians will see the changes as far as FCT is concerned.
The Wike Flyover Bridge is one of the projects that is already near completion. When completed, it will lead to a free flow of vehicular traffic on the Berger-Wuse axis. Similarly, the Kuje dual carriageway will free the heavy traffic that characterizes this road on a normal workday. Next to visit is the residential complex of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This project, which is over 70% completed, was abandoned for almost 2 decades.
With the support Mr. President has given us, I think we have no reason to begin to give excuses. I don't want to say that well, there's money or nobody. For us, no money can be enough. But what's important, the little you have, you commit it to the development of the city. I'm not here to criticize anybody who was here before. Mine is the opportunity Mr. President has given to me. Let me utilize it and work for the people.
As the President's Tinubu-led administration moves closer to marking its first year in office in May, the FCT minister is optimistic that the nation's capital will wear a new look owing to the number of projects that will be completed by May 29.
Meanwhile, as many Nigerians continue to lament the rising cost of living, especially food prices, government at the federal and state levels are also stepping up measures to address the situation. In Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde has announced the immediate suspension of revenue collection on farm produce and slashed the price of hiring tractors for clearing farmlands. He made this known during a meeting with farmers in the state, vowing to ensure food security beyond the current economic downturn.
Farmers and other stakeholders in the agri sector in Oyo State gather at the Fashola Agribusiness Industrial Hub. The aim is to address the high cost of food commodities in the state. Addressing the farmers, Governor Seyi Makinde says he is concerned about the soaring cost of food items, adding that it is imperative for government to support the farmers so that residents can buy food items at affordable rates.
Some of the decisions that we've taken here we just don't want to leave them hanging. We want to track them. So the 10-man committee with 6 from the stakeholders and only 4 from government side will be able to track the decisions that we've taken here today, so that 3 months, 6 months down the line, when we gather again to look at how far we have come along, it will be quite easy for us to track those decisions.
Next, Governor Makinde announces some relief packages for the farmers.
They mentioned the issue of tractor hiring to clear the land. And I said, okay, look, we did the calculation. Right now they're being charged 30,000 naira per hectare, for clearance. And I said, okay, it's a little bit on the high side. So we said government will subsidize the amount that they are paying for clearance. And we have put 600 million naira on the table now. And at the subsidy level that we're looking at, that should be enough to clear close to 120,000 hectares of land.
Some of the farmers present bear their minds about the meeting and the decisions taken by the governor.
Oyo State farmers need traditional, modern ways of farming. So we need to move from traditional farming to modern farming. So when you do modern farming, our cost of production will reduce.
We farmers should be sincere with ourselves. Even though if government produce anything for us, if government give us empowerment or all this input, we have to be sincere with ourselves. Because we farmers, we are not sincere.
In the meantime, the state government has set up a 10-man committee comprising agriculture stakeholders and government officials. And the mandate is for the committee to track the progress of the decisions taken at the meeting. Bukola Uriowu, Channels Television News.
Staying with the issue of food prices in Bauchi State, it may no longer be business as usual for food dealers who have resorted to hoarding food items, as they have been asked to make the items available or be prepared to face the law. The warning was issued during a meeting called by the Bauchi State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission to address the persistent increase in prices. Our correspondent Hajara Aliyu reports.
Mr. Saleh Hussaini, a retiree who supports a household of 7, purchased some staple food items from Modalawal markets that will last a few days. Like Mr. Hussaini, many households are facing the threat of increased food prices. For example, the price of beans has risen from 55,000 naira 2 months ago to now ranging between 90,000 naira and 100,000 naira per bag.
In the situation we are in now, if you have enough food in your house that will sustain you for some time, then you are okay. You don't have much problem. But as of now, it is not everybody that has this food security.
One of the sellers hints that prices remain high but fluctuates often depending on availability and scarcity. Although this problem is a national issue, the Bauchi State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission believes an internal solution can be found, particularly for food produced within the state. As part of the search for a solution, the Commission holds a meeting with food dealers in Bauchi State. A lengthy discussion takes place and the dealers apportioned blame to manufacturers for the price increases.
To us, we are going down because in terms of business, there is what we call a profit margin and there is growth. If you don't have growth in your business, you are going nowhere. That's the part of it. We are selling our goods at loss so many times. We buy things of today at example of 80,000, then before the goods will even arrive at your presence or after it arrives, you have uploaded, the company will increase the price at tomorrow morning.
The Commission's boss insists that part of the problem lies with the dealers who hoard commodities, thereby creating artificial scarcity.
Well, let us have a joint solution to for the betterment of the citizens of the state. After which, we can deploy the next strategy, which is to clamp down according to law.
At the end of the meeting, a joint committee was established to continue the dialogue towards finding a solution. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the Minister of Information and Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is giving assurances that the policies being implemented by the government will improve the welfare of the people, while some are already impacting positively on the people as well. He appealed to Nigerians to be patient with the President Bola Tinubu administration, as according to him, the hardship currently being faced by Nigerians is only a passing phase. The minister was speaking during the 50th anniversary lecture of the Punch newspapers in Lagos.
Should be a social security system that is going to work on, especially for our teeming young population. There is also going to be a consumer credit scheme that federal government is also putting in place. Now, all these things are positive things that I want the media to also talk about. Yes, we are having problems with food supply. Government has been working extremely hard to see how that can end. It's not just doing that by itself, inviting people in the sector, inviting the private sector, and everybody. What we don't want to do is to surrender our agricultural sector or our economy to marauders who will come from outside this country and keep us perpetually down. So for as long as government is listening to the people and reviewing its policies from time to time, and ensuring that Nigerians have a better life, we urge you all to show support and understanding with this government. And who is in the forefront of that more than the media? So as all these things are happening, investors are coming to this country. We heard only yesterday from the Minister of Health that a Brazilian company is investing over $240 million in the pharmaceutical manufacturing sector in this country. We have also heard from the Minister of Investment and Trade, Dr. Doris, that about $30 billion that was pledged at one time or the other has already begun to arrive in this country. Now, all these ones are good stories that we should talk about, and I applaud the media to please report those good things. This is the country that we have. We don't have any other country. If we run down this place, there is no other place for all of us to go to.
Away from matters of high cost of living, the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association, MACBAN, is seeking compensation from the Nigeria Air Force for some of its members who were victims of an airstrike in Rukubi community of Doma local government area of Nasarawa State in 2023. MACBAN's national president, Mr. Balan Gelzama, made this known during a visit to Governor Abdullahi Sule in Lafia alongside members of the association. He noted that they have accepted the apology of the Air Force, but wants their members to be duly compensated.
We have relentlessly pursued this issue with other sister organizations, especially Fulbeck Global Development and Rights Initiatives. We have written to all relevant stakeholders, including the National Human Rights Commission and the United States, on this gross injustice meted against the pastoralists. What was more worrisome is the toga of bandits often used by the Nigerian Air Force anytime the issue is mentioned. They were insisting that those killed were bandits. We are glad that the Nigerian Air Force has still risen to admit responsibility and condoled the families of the victims through your very good self. This is truly commendable, and we commend the Chief of Staff for his sincerity on the issue. Your Excellency, the condolence and apology by the Air Force is accepted. However, we want to unequivocally ask for compensation for the families of those killed unintentionally by the Air Force. The same way the victims of Tudumburi in Kaduna were considered for compensation when similar incident took place recently. This will go a long way in alleviating the sufferings of the orphan children and widows left behind.
In part two after the break, Governor Babagana Zulum and the UN representative in Nigeria discuss humanitarian crisis in Borno State. Plus, the Nigerian Railway Corporation announces commencement of operations on the Port Harcourt-Aba rail line by the end of March. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory vows completion of legacy projects embarked upon about 6 months ago before May the 29th on the first anniversary of the President Bola Tinubu administration. Oyo State government moves to alleviate the impact of high food prices. Governor Makinde announces the immediate suspension of revenue collection on farm produce and slashes cost of clearing farmlands. Nyeti Allah Cattle Breeders Association demand compensation from the Nigeria Air Force for some of its members killed in the 2023 mistaken airstrike in Nasarawa State. And the United States carries out its first airdrop of humanitarian aid for Gaza. In Borno State, the government has pledged to support the United Nations in its efforts towards addressing the humanitarian challenges in the state. Governor Babagana Zulum gave the assurance when he received the new UN country representative and humanitarian coordinator to Nigeria in his office in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital.
The 15 years of Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast left about 3.5 million persons displaced in Borno State alone. Although the Borno State government has since begun the restoration of ravaged communities and the resettlement of displaced persons, majority of them still find themselves in camps and host communities outside the metropolis. One of such is Banki, a community sharing borders with the Republic of Cameroon and is situated 149 kilometers from Maiduguri, the state capital. Banki is one of the 3 restored communities hosting over 77,000 victims of insurgency.
Since when they declare Banki as host community, we don't have, the government stopped all the humanitarian constructing emergency shelter in Banki. So when they are coming from the bush, they don't have anywhere to stay. The reception center is supposed to have new arrival, not less than 72 hours. But due to the lack of shelter in Banki, they used to stay more than years. So when new arrival come, they don't even have space at the new arrival, and there's no any provision for them for shelter in the community.
Bearing in mind these humanitarian crises, the Borno State government explains efforts to tackle the humanitarian situation.
We may have had some misunderstandings, but that does not mean that the relationship between the government of Borno State and indeed the UN agencies in Borno State is fragile. It is never fragile. I want to assure you that we shall give you the maximum support to succeed. In addition to the management of the mass exit, how we shall support the victims is also part of the mandate of this basket forth.
The UN country representative and humanitarian coordinator outlined its agenda for the state and the northeast region.
I want you to believe that we are here only for one thing. Understand where you want to go. Read where you want to go and be behind you, be behind your back, and make sure that every single step you make on the way towards improving the life of the people of Borno, you will have us next to you in that journey.
Apart from the donations, Professor Zulum says the Regional Stabilization Fund, under the supervision of the UN, is another program that is contributing to the rebuilding of the communities and the resettling of all IDPs.
In other stories, a former judge of the Federal High Court, retired Justice Ibrahim Bubes, has asked that the judiciary should not be dragged into political controversies. Now, retired Justice Buba argues that the judiciary's job is to interpret the law, and dragging judges into political controversies tramples on the independence of the judiciary. He was speaking at a judicial accountability conference organized by citizens advocacy group TAP Initiative in Abuja.
Legal experts, policymakers, and advocates convened for the Judicial Accountability Conference, organized by Citizens Advocacy Group, TAP Initiative. The conference explores and proposes lasting solutions to address accountability within the nation's judiciary.
We are not trying to antagonize anybody. We are trying to improve one of the most critical sectors of our society by asking these very important and pertinent questions. And it is very important that we just don't wish or wash things under the carpet and just sweep them like that, because at the end of the day, the gavel of a judge is as strong as the spoken words of God.
Delivering the keynote address, a former Federal High Court judge, retired Justice Brian Buber, explains how the political class has burdened to the judiciary.
In the interpretative functions of judges that call upon to determine issues and give effect to the provisions of the Constitution may find themselves dragged into field of political controversy. The judiciary should not be seen to be supporting the view or actions or omissions of the executive of the state or of the federation.
The panel session features lawyers and development partners who speak on the challenges in the nation's judiciary.
If our judicial officers can take judicial notice of how lawyers go to television to argue and address the press, they can take judicial notice of rumors as being pastime of construction sites of Nigerian people. What stopped the Nigerian court of today from taking judicial notice of political rascalities of our politicians in denying the sovereignty of the people at the poll?
It is indeed contemptuous for anybody to be in defiance of an order of court or in disobedience of an order of court and still dare to approach the court for, subsequent orders or applications. Why do you come to a court whose hands you have invariably tied by your own conduct and misconduct? So I think it's high time that our judges, brace up and then show a little more steel than what we are seeing now.
As the conversation continues, stakeholders remain optimistic that the challenges facing Nigeria's judicial system will be expeditiously addressed.
To rail infrastructure, the Port Harcourt-Aba rail line is billed to commence full operation by the end of March this year. This is according to the Managing Director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Mr. Fidet Okiria, who was on an inspection visit to the facility in Port Harcourt. Mr. Okiria said the China Civil Engineering Construction Company handling the project has promised that by the end of March, travelers will be able to travel to and from Aba by train, with plans to link the on-air port to the rails for the movement of goods to Aba, Umuahia and Enugu.
What I can tell Nigerians today is that we were able to ride on the train, unlike last time where we went by road to Aba. So we went on the train to Elelewa because we had other things to do. We look at the Port Harcourt port. We all go to Elelewa and see how we are going to access One from Elelewa. So we did that, and compare it with what they have put on ground as a preliminary design. That we are called physical siting. One don't have rail line, so but the minister and government have insisted. While we are going ahead with construction from Aba to Enugu, but we have to link the ports so that if it's only movement of goods out and into the port, up to anywhere they get to, either Aba, Umuahia, Enugu, so we should be able to move things out of the port because it will protect the road and it will be cheaper to move by rail out of the port to any destination that the track has gotten to. But we're insisting that that port must be linked, either the port behind us here and the other port.
Motorists plying the Lagos-Ibadan expressway may have to prepare for some level of traffic congestion from Monday. This is because the Federal Ministry of Works says repair works on the damaged expansion joints on the Long Bridge part of the road will commence simultaneously on both bounds of the bridge by 7 a.m. on March the 4th, 2024, this year. Now, the ministry explains in a statement that the repair works will end by March the 25th and traffic leaving and entering Lagos through the Long Bridge will be narrowed to 2 lanes on both sides of the bridge. The ministry is urging all road users to adhere to lane discipline while the work lasts, noting that the earth road beside the Shagamu-bound carriageway will be made motorable to serve as a complementary route. To Delta State, where issues of environment preservation appear to be on the front burner. This comes as the government moves to restore the state's mangrove forests, seagrass protection and preservation of the ecosystem for conservation and environmental sustainability. In line with this, the state government has signed a memorandum of understanding with Serendip Capital UK to reverse the decline.
Over the years, activities such as urbanization and pollution from petroleum and gas exploration have brought about more degradation and hampered restoration of the ecosystem damaged by crude oil exploration. This ceremony marks the signing of a memorandum of understanding by the Delta State Government and Serendip Capital UK for the restoration and preservation of the mangrove forest, the second largest mangrove restoration project in the world. Governor Sheriff Oborowere is delighted about the development.
This program set a remarkable precedent by demonstrating how environmental stewardship can harmoniously coexist with human development aspirations. I commend all stakeholders involved for their visionary approach and unwavering commitment to shaping a more sustainable and prosperous future for current and future generations. I'm deeply committed to environmental conservation and sustainable development, and therefore ready to endorse the groundbreaking mangrove and seagrass conservation project.
The organization gives details on how it hopes to restore and preserve depleting forest resources in the state.
What this means for Delta State is a long-term 30-40-year solution to having a sustainable environment, one in which there will be a significant amount of job creation, educational opportunities, with a particular emphasis on youth development. This is something that both His Excellency, the Governor, has expressed a strong desire to see, as well as other members of the Cabinet that have been working closely with us.
With committed expertise coming in to help restore the value of that attribute of our environment, we could have economic gain that come from it. We could take these carbon credits, because we don't produce as much of the things that challenge the environment, and put it that way, as some others. We could trade the damage they're doing with some profit for development in our parts.
The state government says feasibility studies for the project will commence this month, and the people are hopeful that this move will, amongst other things, tackle unemployment in the state.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's forex reserves rise further by about $200 million, inches closer to the $34 billion mark. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. In Rivers State, the interventionist agency, the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, has commenced the process of immortalizing the environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was killed by the military regime of General Sani Abacha. A Rivers State representative on the NDDC board, Mr. Tony Okocha, made this known during the visit to Bane, the hometown of the Ogoni-born activist. He explained that the provision of solar-powered streetlights at the Ken Saro-Wiwa Memorial Park and the soon-to-be-flagged-off construction of the 5-kilometer road leading to the park are part of the NDDC's contribution in honoring the activist. This is Bane community in Kana local government area of Rivers State, the hometown of renowned Niger Delta environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, who was executed alongside 8 others in 1995 by the General Sani Abacha-led military government following his non-violent campaign against environmental degradation of the land and waters of Ogoni land by a multinational oil company. The River State representative on the NDDC governing board, Mr. Tony Okocha, is here representing the board chairman, Mr. Chiedu Ebie, to kickstart the process of immortalizing the late Niger Delta activist. First, he visits the palace of the paramount ruler of Ken Kana Kingdom, where he is received by Ogoni leaders, including the Kana Council chairman and members of Ken Saro-Wiwa's family.
We are very grateful that you remembered us. We are grateful that you didn't just remember us, you took a bold step. There is light that we are seeing on this paper. You've also told us about the road that is also coming. What more can we ask?
He then presents the NDDC award letter for the provision of solar-powered streetlight at the Ken Saro-Wiwa Memorial Park and its environs.
This one you have brought, Chibokoja, shows that there are Borno people now have food. Kenkana people now have food.
The team then moves to the Ken Saro-Wiwa Memorial Park, where the late activist is buried at the tomb. Ogoni leaders, including Ken Saro-Wiwa's brother, commend the NDDC for the move.
You are here because you are led by God, and you are led by the spirit of your grandfather. Yes, I call Dr. Obiwali your grandfather, who had a good relationship, a strong friendship with Ken Saro-Wiwa, and they were the builders. The foundation of River State was built by them. That the feeling of Ken Saro-Wiwa and immortalizing him under very stringent condition, whereby you had to bring out this project, it is that you were led by God.
We've taken so much time to put this edifice here. For everyone to come and do a little thing you think that can make immortalize my senior brother's name. That's why I'm here today thanking Tony for this wonderful project he has brought to us. And again, on to the Ibadan community, for which I stand for development. Thank him for the project of the road that is bringing for us too.
This is followed by the official flag-off of the solar-powered street light.
Ken Saro-Wiwa led the way in liaison with other leaders. Though translated, the likes of Obiwale, led the way to what we are getting today, what we are seeing today in the Niger Delta. That our people are even remembered, in spite of the fact that we are the golden geese and lazy golden egg. We had deprivations, and those deprivations have led to moral depravities. And so we have thought that we need to help to immortalize him.
The NDD says in a few days, the construction of the 5-kilometer road leading to this park will be flagged off, with other projects expected to follow as part of moves to immortalize Ken Saro-Wiwa. Staying in River State, the people of Emowa local government area may have reasons to rejoice, going by the assurances of development being given by the chairman of the council, Mr. Chidi Lloyd. He is promising that his administration will continue to commission projects for the benefit of the people until his last day in office. Mr. Lloyd made this pledge in Emowa during his 2-week-long project commissioning and rendering of the account of stewardship in the local government area.
As part of his administration's project commissioning, Chairman of Emowa local government area in River State, Mr. Chidi Lloyd, is officially handing over a brand new police post built and equipped by the council.
We will continue as a council to partner with this station to ensure that whatever we have put here will remain, and whoever will come here will merely improve upon the facility that we already have inside here.
The special guest of honor is the Inspector General of Police, who is represented by the Assistant Inspector General in charge of Zone 16, Bayelsa. He expresses the force's gratitude for the gesture.
This facility will be used to prevent crime and criminality in the area. There will be zero tolerance on corruption, and I remain best advised by the Bureau of Police to ensure that crime and criminality in this area is brought to bare minimum.
2002, the chairman commissions a 500-capacity pavilion named after Ngozi Mary Kekwaru, the young lady who shot to fame after finding and returning $70,000 at her workplace. Mr. Lloyd takes the opportunity to give an account of his tenure as chairman.
I have spent close to 3 years here. In a few months, my tenure will wind up. I do not have a staff car of my own. I have not bought an official car of my own. I'm still using the old cars that I came with to this local government. I didn't come here a poor man. No. I didn't come here a poor man. I didn't also come here to enrich myself.
And on the third day, former Chief of Staff to the Rivers State Government, Mr. Wike, is present to commission a new 350-capacity ICT center named after him. Mr. Lloyd explains the idea behind the project.
What you see here is connected to the internet. We hope that all computer-based examinations will take place here. We intend to get this center linked to JAM, to Wike, and GCE.
Some of the community members expressed satisfaction at the performance of Mr. Lloyd.
I'm happy because the Wike examination is now computer-based. Students can come here to register and write their exams.
Some other projects commissioned include a doctor's lounge, the Nyesom Wike Drive, and a primary healthcare cold chain center. Mr. Lloyd's tenure ends in June this year, and some of the people are clamoring that he contest for another term.
The president has paid a visit to the National Museum of Qatar in Doha as part of his official engagements during his state visit to the Arabian nation. President Bola Tinubu and his delegation were led round the structure by Chief Operating Officer of the Qatar Museum, Mohammed Sal Al-Rumaihi. The president also visited the Qatar Foundation, a state-led non-profit organization charged with the development of schools, houses and health facilities in many countries, including Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Mr. Oladele Alake, says comprehensive data on the pattern and quantity of energy mineral lithium are available at the Nigerian Geological Survey Agency for businesses interested in establishing lithium companies in Nigeria. Mr. Dele Alake said this in Doha today at a meeting with Qatari businessmen on the sidelines of the visit of President Bola Tinubu to the Arabian country. Responding to inquiries on the quality of Nigerian lithium by Qatari business mogul Sheikh Shahid Jawad at the meeting, Mr. Alake said mineral exploration initiated by the federal government has identified locations where lithium occurs in commercial quantities in high grades. Encouraging Qatari businessmen to visit the country and witness the immense opportunities in mining, the minister said the Nigerian government has put in place generous investor-friendly policies to facilitate business in Nigeria. The Vice President Kashim Shettima has paid a courtesy visit to former President Muhammadu Buhari at his residence in Daura of Katsina State. Vice President Shettima was accompanied on the visit by the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Mahmoud Abubakar, and the former Governor of Imo State, Roches Okorocha. The Minister of Power, Mr. Dibayo Adilabu, has summoned the chief executives of Abuja Electricity Distribution Company and Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company over the deteriorating electricity supply in the country. A statement from the ministry explained that Mr. Adilabu will meet with the DISCOs next week, adding that the Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, Sule Ahmed Abdulaziz, has also been summoned over the deteriorating power situation. According to the minister, findings revealed that some distribution companies were deliberately not taking up power supply from the TCN, while some power lines were also damaged by vandals in Abuja, Benin, Port Harcourt, and Ibadan regions. In other stories, Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State has signed 3 bills into law. They are the new Enugu City Development Agency Bill, Enugu State Geographical Information System Service Bill, and the Enugu State Independent Electoral Commission Amendment Bill. Governor Mbah explained that the laws are to enhance service delivery, especially in the area of land administration and electoral process.
So what we have witnessed today is just making sure that our laws are in conformity with that and will continue to strengthen our local democracy. With respect to the new Enugu City Development Authority law, we know that we're very futuristic in the way we view governance and in the way we approach governance. We're essentially already thinking about our tomorrow. What we have done, as you all know, Enugu is gradually getting to an implosion level where there is tension. So since the city Enugu was created, there hasn't been any attempt to expand the city to be able to accommodate more people. So what we have witnessed today is a legal framework that allows us, and indeed even future governments, to continue to expand the city. So what we are going to go immediately to do with the passage of this law and the bill and the signing into law today is to have a master plan of the new Enugu city. We may not be able to execute or fully implement this master plan, but at least there is a master plan for our next generation. Those who would come after us will not get to a point where they will be wondering, did our parents not think about us? So what we have done here today is to think about the future generation.
It's now time for some business news with Will Ibong.
Thank you, Ayotunde, and welcome to Business News. We begin with Nigeria's FX reserves, which saw further appreciation this week. Data from the central bank shows that the gross reserve level increased by $200.45 billion to $33.72 billion as at February the 29th. Meanwhile, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, during the foreign portfolio investor call organized by the Nigerian Exchange Group NGX this week, says the Apex Bank is set to clear the remainder of the bank's FX backlogs in the next few days. Also, forex market trading activity at the FMDQ exchange closed positive this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets climbed by 39.37% to close at $1.24 billion. A further breakdown shows total value of transactions at FX spot markets rose by 36.04% to $1.207 billion, while transactions at the FX derivatives market also rose by over 1,000% to $33.74 million. Meanwhile, the value of the Naira dipped by 1.85% to 1,597 Naira 79 kobo against the dollar at the official NAFEX window. However, it was negative sentiment at the domestic equities market this week as investors took profits. Sentiment report shows there was 1% buy and 99% sell. As a result, the all-share index declined by 3.27% week on week. Activity levels, however, remain strong as trading volume and value rose week on week. Analyzing by sectors, the consumer goods counter was the major gainer, followed by a gain in the oil and gas counter as all other counters declined. Julie PLC again topped the gainers chart for the week, while MTN Nigeria PLC led the declining stocks. Meanwhile, the trio of UBA, Access Holdings, and Transnational Corporation PLC topped trades by volume. Now zooming on MTN Nigeria, which reported a loss before tax of 177.8 billion naira compared to a pre-tax profit of 518.8 billion naira a year earlier. The losses resulted in a wipeout of shareholders' funds. The company attributed the losses to a massive foreign currency loss of 740 billion naira, up from 81 billion naira reported in 2022. This is the company's first ever loss since it became a quoted company in Nigeria. According to MTN, the loss was significantly due to operational changes to the Nigerian foreign exchange market, including the abolishment of the segmented parallel structure announced by the central bank in June 2023. Now, Transcorp Power is set to debut on the Nigerian Exchange Limited NGX, boasting a market capitalization of 1.8 trillion naira. The company is a member of the Transcorp Group, which includes Transcorp Hotel, equally listed as a separate entity. In a statement, the company revealed plans to offer 7.5 billion ordinary shares of 50 kobo each at a listing price of 240 naira per share. The listing ceremony is set to take place at the NGX on March the 4th. We move over to the unlisted equities market, where it also closed in negative territory. The index dropped by over 3.97% to close at 1,141 points. Also, turnover for the week was negative as volume value traded was down. UBN Property Company PLC recorded the most significant gain as it rose by 9.83% to close at 1 naira. Friesland Campina Wamco Nigeria PLC followed on that list, while Aradel Holdings PLC led the underperforming stocks. And that's a wrap on business news. It's back to Victoria Longden in Abuja for the sports news on the News at 10 segment.
Thank you, Will. Hello and welcome to Sports News. Africa's #1 player, Quadri Aruna, will lead Nigeria's table tennis team to this year's Africa Games. The Nigeria Table Tennis Federation listed the multiple African champion in the roster for the competition. The federation also selected Olajide Omatayo, Taiwo Mati, Matthew Kuti, and Amadi Ume in the men's squad. Former African champion Edem Ofyong, Esther Oribamishe, Fatima Bello, Sukurat Ayegbalan, Hope Uduaka, and Cecilia Otu Akpan. The African Games will hold from March the 8th to the 23rd in Accra, Ghana. And in the English Premier League, Darwin Núñez came off the bench to score a dramatic 99th-minute winner and sent Liverpool 4 points clear at the top of the table with victory at Nottingham Forest. Tottenham Hotspur boosted their hopes of qualifying for the Champions League by staging a dramatic late comeback to beat Crystal Palace. Goals from Alexander Isak, Anthony Gordon, and Tino Livramento helped Newcastle United overcome Wolverhampton Wanderers. Axel Disasi scored a late header to rescue a point for Chelsea at Brentford. Fulham saw off Brighton and Hove Albion 3-0 with goals from Harry Wilson, Rodrigo Muniz, and Adama Traore, while Thomas Suchek struck a stylish half volley as West Ham United scored twice in injury time to clinch a dramatic win at Everton. And Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola says his side needs to focus on tactics and not emotions in Sunday's Premier League derby with Manchester United. Manchester City, who won 3-0 at Old Trafford in October last year, are 15 points above Manchester United. Guardiola said despite Manchester United's disappointing season, they still pose a threat. Manchester City are chasing a second consecutive trophy treble.
What I learned in my experience in this type of games, more calm, relaxed, don't talk much about many things, just focus in tactic issue and what you have to do to beat them. Not about emotional, because the emotional will be there without a doubt. So that's why I relax and prepare the game as best as possible, knowing the quality, because they are able to go in walls, like how difficult it is to beat them. Go to Luton, I know how difficult it is in the Premier League to beat them. And the quality to, in Aston Villa, go there and win weeks ago, not month, so a few weeks ago. So they had the biggest incredible quality of that.
Meanwhile, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag expects Fernandes and Rafael Varane to be fit for Sunday's derby against champions Manchester City. Manchester United go into the clash 15 points behind their neighbours and are currently 8 points adrift of a Champions League qualifying spot. Ten Hag has been beaten in 3 of his 4 games against Pep Guardiola's men. Last season's trip to the Etihad ended in a 6-3 defeat for Manchester United, but Ten Hag believes his team can take confidence from their form.
You always want to play against the best, and yeah, so most of the times we feel, and you can also see it, that when the opposition get their best outputs against Manchester United, and yeah, maybe this game is the other way around. But we know we have to give everything and show really a team performance if you want to get the result there. And but if you do it, it's possible. That is also what the opposition shows against in this moment against Manchester City.
His free-scoring Arsenal side could rely on goal difference if they are to win the Premier League this season. The Gunners have recorded 6-0, 5-0 and 4-1 wins in their last 3 league games and have an aggregate of 25-3 since the turn of the year. Arteta will back his players to continue a good run in front of goal as they face bottom club Sheffield United on Monday night. Arsenal could welcome back Thomas Partey and Alexander Zinchenko for the game after the pair both recovered from injury.
A really difficult team to beat, and you watch, and I watch 4 or 5 games now with the City game, the way they started against Villa, and then obviously the game took a different route. But as you mentioned, they are extremely well coached. I know Chris really well, and I admire his teams and a lot of things that he does with them. It will be Monday Night Football. I imagine that it's really tough for them, and the ambitions are different, but both really, really important. And I imagine when you are there, you want to get out of there as quick as possible, and we have a lot to play for as well, and it's a big game. It's an important element there. First of all, you have to earn the right to win the games, and then we want to be ruthless and efficient in front of goal, and I think lately we've been really good.
And in basketball, the Golden State Warriors shook off a travel nightmare to push their road winning streak to 8 games with a 120-105 victory over the Toronto Raptors. Stephen Curry scored 25 points and Jonathan Kuminga added 24 for the Warriors, who found themselves delayed 6 hours at the airport after their victory over the New York Knicks on Thursday night. Klay Thompson, back in the starting lineup, scored 14 points, all in the second half. Rowan Barrett led Toronto scoring with 23 points. All-star Scotty Barnes had 10 points and 6 rebounds.
The key is the chemistry, the fact that these guys are committed to each other and to winning. And I think Draymond has done an incredible job of walking the line the way he needs to, just being competitive and fierce, but not going over the line. And we need him, and he knows that. He's been fantastic.
In our coverages against Kuminga and against Draymond Green, I thought that they were trying to figure out a little bit spacing, and Kelly, playing as a backup 5. He was now at a position of power forward, so a little bit different offense for him. Still figuring out, but I don't mind those 2 guys sharing the court and playing off of each other for sure.
And that's it on Sports News. Is now back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Victoria. The U.S. has carried out its first airdrop of humanitarian aid for Gaza, with more than 30,000 meals said to have been parachuted in by 3 military planes in conjunction with Jordan's Air Force. U.S. President Joe Biden had promised to step up aid following the killing of at least 112 people as crowds rushed a convoy on Thursday. Meanwhile, the U.S. has announced the possibility of a 6-week ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. The White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said this at a news briefing in Washington, D.C.
I want to just start by talking about the tragic and alarming event in northern Gaza yesterday, in which many Palestinian civilians lost their lives while seeking humanitarian aid and assistance amid a dire situation on the ground there. We express our deepest condolences to the families of those who were killed, and of course, all those who were hurt as well. As you know, we've asked the government of Israel to investigate, and it's our assessment that they're taking this seriously and they are looking into what occurred. so as to avoid tragedies like this from happening again. The United States will carry out airdrops of aid into Gaza in coordination with our international partners, particularly Jordan, in the coming days. We're also going to redouble our efforts to open up a humanitarian maritime corridor to deliver amounts of humanitarian assistance by sea, hopefully large amounts by sea. A deal that would trigger a 6-week ceasefire is currently on the table.
Dozens of transport workers and supporters took to the streets of Munich in Germany to demand better working conditions and increased climate-friendly transportation in the city. Protesters marched and chanted, carrying signs with various inscriptions. The protest comes amidst a wider public transport workers' strike initiated by a trade union across all German federal states, known as Verdi. More than 9,000 workers are taking part in the strike this week to demand better working conditions, grinding some bus, tram and U-Bahn train services to a halt. However, the strike is not expected to affect Bavaria, where the union has already reached an agreement with the local transport association.
Gespielt. Und wir hatten von Anfang an die Vision, dass irgendwann mal, wenn man
Als nächstes spricht Christian. And the main news again. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, today vowed to complete all legacy projects embarked upon about 6 months ago, before May the 29th, which is the first anniversary of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has moved to alleviate the impact of high food prices and has announced the immediate suspension of revenue collection on farm produce and slashed costs of clearing farmlands. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a great weekend.